over here. There's a nice glass of wine over here. Please join us. Looking forward to chatting with you about digital skills shortly. Meanwhile, pop on over to the bar and meet a few people, have a chat. That's what we'd be doing if it wasn't for COVID. Welcome everyone, just waiting for a few more people to join in. There's a lot of letting them in through the doors on the Zoom meetings, where what we're going to do here is we're going to hold just a regular meeting where there's lots and lots of you in here. At the moment, I think we just crossed 50. Big meeting. So do put yourself on mute. And if Kara, if you can just make sure that there's anyone dropping off mute, we just keep them on mute for a while, otherwise it'll get a bit noisy. I'm looking forward to chatting about this digital skills stuff, and I guess because we were hoping that we'd get together and have a chat about it, we're going to try and make this as chatty as possible. So you're just going to listen to me chatting away to start with, but we will find an opportunity to bring you together so you can chat as well. Caroline's our event manager. She's behind the scenes, opening the door for as many people as possible, bringing them all in. Cara, how many do we have now? If you could just message me. Yet the question, is this session being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. It will be recorded. All right, we're going well. We're up to 57 people. That's great. We'll give it one more minute and we'll kick off at 4:35. So you have to put up with another minute of inane chatter from me. What can I tell you about today? I don't know, for anyone who's not based in Auckland, that we just had a thunderstorm earlier today, and it's good that that stopped. Otherwise, you would have been drowned out by the thunder in this place. It's a little bit hot where I am because I've got all the doors and windows closed because of the tui's outside. How's that for a inane chat? You are able to post questions at any time. The chat function is open. We'll have people keeping an eye on that. What we're going to do, all right, let me take you through what we're going to do. Kia ora koutou, everybody. It's lovely to have you all here. I was really looking forward to having our first physical get-together for NZTech's members and communities, but alas, we got hit by COVID again, and here we are on the Zoom platform. One of the great things about Connect events is that you get to connect, and we're going to give it a nudge today to see if we can actually provide a little bit of that experience. It won't be the same as popping over to the bar and grabbing a beer or a wine and a snack and just bumping into someone random, but we are hopefully going to help you meet someone random and say hello. What we're going to do today is, after I finished this little intro, we're going to pop you all off into little groups of 6 or 10, or we just push you out into lots of little rooms. And I advise you to use that opportunity as if you were meeting them for the first time or catching up with someone, and you grabbed your drink or your snack or your Coke and you'd wandered over and said, hey, how are you going at this normal Connect event? We'll give you about 10 minutes just to go around the room and say, hi, who's here, who's doing what, meet each other, and then we'll bring you back in. Then I'll spend probably about 20 odd minutes taking us through the highlights from the digital skills report. Once we've had a chat, an opportunity to listen to me give you the highlights, we'll pop you back out into those rooms again and encourage you to talk about what you've heard and what you think is important, and start to stimulate what questions you want to know, what else do you want to know, or what do you want to share with the rest of the community on this call. Feel free to use the chat function as you go through to talk to each other and catch up with each other. And then when we bring you back in after that second conversation, we'll have an open Q&A, open mic night, and we'll see if we can manage me answering any questions or anyone sharing some information. If anyone gets too verbose, we'll just cut them off and we'll keep going. But that's the plan. Sound like a good plan? Okay. I'm going to ask Caroline now, our event manager, to drop us all out into some catch-up rooms so you can meet a few of the people on this call. Introduce yourselves, talk amongst yourselves, and when we bring you back in sort of 10 minutes or so, we'll put you back on mute and I'll share the report with you and tell you a bit more about it. Hey, kia ora, enjoy yourself. Okay, so you'll be sent out to a room. Just accept that change when it comes to you. How's that working, Caro? Is that little experiment working?
It is. If everyone that still can hear Graham and I, can you just accept the change of the breakout rooms that should be popping up on your screen, please?
So you'll get sent a little thing, it'll pop up in your screen and go accept, and it'll drop you into a breakout room.
Okay. There's a few that haven't got them.
A bunch of unassigned people. What are you doing with them?
Right. I will just go through and start assigning you all.
Okay, we tried experiment 1, which was to assign everyone to a room, and then we've got a whole bunch of people we haven't assigned. Bear with us. It's worth a crack. Tech is hard. Thank you, Jacko. Tech is hard. We're trying.
I'll just keep sipping my wine, Graham, while I'm waiting.
Yeah, Jeff, where would you like to go? I'll just send you off somewhere now. All right, assign you to. Hang on, which room? 4. Yeah, nice one. Have a nice glass of wine.
Okay. Are you able to assign rooms as well, Graham?
Yeah, I'll start assigning them too.
Thank you. I'm just going to pop into.
So for those that are just joining in, what we're doing is we're just going to have a little catch-up, meet some of the people that are arriving in the call, and introduce yourself to each other, get to know each other. Sorry, but we thought we'd auto-assign, but now we're manually, crazily assigning pretty fast as we can, and you'll just get a chance to say hello to a few people and hopefully meet someone new. And then after 10 minutes or so, we'll bring you back and we'll get into the conversation. Yeah, I know. Don't be. There's someone putting in chat here. If only there was some tech experts on the call. Just about there. If you're in a room already, I hope you're having a good chat. By the time we've done this, it'll be time to bring you back. Excellent.
Oh, I'm not on mute.
Carrie, could you reassign me because I missed? I'll go say hello to people and then bring us back at about 4:50. Marissa, why didn't you get assigned?
Sorry, I did, Graham. I'm just parenting quickly here. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm doing the old juggle.
Yeah, nice to see. Good to see. This is the modern world. At least we've got an opportunity to chat, even if you're juggling at the same time.
I know it's the real world.
Yeah.
But brilliant that we could bring this online.
Yeah, thanks for your help with that, eh?
Hey, no worries. It was a shame that we had to go online, but awesome that we can still bring everyone together.
Marissa, I'll reassign you back into a room again. It's Caro here.
Yeah, I might not jump into it because I'm just sorting something out, but I can see on the more button that I can get into the room if I need to.
Okay, cool. So you're in room 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are other people in there, aren't there? They're not just waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there are.
It's just you.
I know.
Oh, there's only 2 people in room 8. I'm going to.
Do you want to pop me in somewhere? There's Jerry and Mike are sitting in unassigned, it looks like, as well.
Hang on.
I know
Just-
Jerry's not.
Maybe there. Okay, have you got something to say, move? And I'm moving you back to room 8.
I'm going to join room 7, it says.
Yeah.
And just new people come in and just give them a place to go and explain it as well.
Yeah, I will. Right. Participants.
Right, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
we've all been moved
we're all
back.
going back.
All been kicked back.
Hello, hello everyone.
Oh,
Good grief.
Mr. Norman, hello. Are we able to go back to the
Hello, Mr. Graham. How are you?
Very, very well. But I'm going to mute now because otherwise we're going to cause chaos for Graham. Daryl, are we able to go back to our groups? I didn't. I was pulled back, but we're just in the middle.
There will be a chance.
We've all been pulled back. We'll just have to do it on chat.
And there will be a chance to. Yeah, that was an experiment.
The irony of here we are in IT, and actually, you should have just let the algorithm just divide us up and bring us back.
Oh, we did that, but there was a whole lot of extra people.
No, I meant the irony. I wasn't blaming anybody.
No. We thought we had it sussed. NZTech, right? We thought we had the tech nailed.
It was the AI that threw you, Graham. That's what it was.
Cara, have we got everyone back?
Yes, we should do.
All right, let's see what we can do here. Okay, well, assuming we've still got everyone with us, that was a little experiment. Hopefully it was I'll try to be an opportunity to give everyone to touch base. Obviously, if it was anything like my experience, you didn't have enough time. Just starting to relax into it and have a conversation, and boom, we're out of there. So we will send you back to catch up with those folks after I've done a little presentation about the skills work. A good chance to catch up and chat to each other. A chance to ask some questions about what else you might like to know about or what else you want to talk about in the subject. And then we'll bring you back and we'll give you a bit more time near that. And then we'll have some Q&A near the end. So I'm thinking probably sort of 20 odd minutes, maybe talking through this thing, giving you about 15 minutes then to have a conversation about it, bring you back. And then we'll just see how the Q&A goes. If there's lots of questions, we'll talk for as long as it takes. If there aren't, we'll wrap it up. So what we have got here, let me go back a little bit. I'll introduce myself for those who I haven't met. It's Graham Muller, the Chief Exec of NZTech. NZTech is the voice for technology in New Zealand. We have the privilege of working together and representing 22 technology industry associations from across the country, helping them and supporting them and helping them bring together around common goals, and then help supporting them wherever possible on their own goals. So digital skills is definitely a common goal right across all the associations, whether we're looking at the AI Forum and Blockchain or IoT Alliance, whether we're looking at agri-tech or fintech or edtech, or in spaces like Tech Women or Tech Marketers, etc. So there's lots of, and the regional associations that we work with as well, like Canterbury Tech, and welcome to our newest member of the Alliance as well, Manawa Tech, which is a pretty cool group just kicking off down there in Palmy. So one of the things that NZTech has been working on is in collaboration with the government, is the Digital Technology Industry Transformation Plan. So this is the government's industry policy, where it's looking at specific sector focuses around industry growth. And digital tech came through as one of the primary focus sectors, particularly because of COVID, as an opportunity to really grow the economy. We've done a whole bunch of work through the back end of 2019 and 2020, looking at the different areas where government support and industry partnership could actually create some transformational growth. Now, one of the foundation pillars of this is skills. So in order to get the transformation, we need the skills. So we set off on a piece of work at the end of last year with the support of MB, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and the Ministry of Education. And I'd like to thank also the number of industry organisations that provided some financial support as well to enable this piece of work to go really deep and of high quality. So we set off in October to try and understand the whole digital skills landscape. We had done a piece of work with the Digital Skills Forum with NZ Rise, IT Professionals, and NZTech and others in 2017. It's quite a high-level piece of work, so we decided to get a bit deeper and look at the whole pipeline. So I will just take you through what that pipeline looks like. Now, the really interesting piece about this work is for the first time, we've managed to collect information from right across the pipeline, actual facts and figures, from back in school, primary school, through secondary school, through the NCEA, through the transition into tertiary qualifications, the outcomes of those, through the internships, and into employment and through immigration. So this is a picture of what happened in 2019. So that was the last full set of data. And I want to work through this because what's happened is, by doing this piece of research, we've found out that there's no particularly individual, simple, broken spot in this whole pipeline. There are a number of areas that are not working that well. And it's quite, I'm an optimist, and I look at it and go, a little incremental change here, here, and here will have a large gain. So if we get down to the very bottom of that pipeline, what you can see there is that there are 98,583 people currently working in IT occupations in New Zealand. And you can see that there's only 2.8% of them are Pacific, 4% are Maori, and 27% female. Those are all statistics that are well below what the demographic layout should be. There's always been a concern about the diversity within the digital roles, and a lot of work's been applied to trying to solve those challenges. But if we work our way all the way back up to the top, you see that you can't actually see it in this chart, but the diversity challenge actually flows right back up. So the number of students at secondary school that are doing these courses and at tertiary that are doing these courses and at that same level. So the diversity problem starts right back at the start of the pipeline. What I want to do is just walk you through this pipeline, and then we can have a bit of a think about what it means. So, you know, in 2019, there were 452,000 kids at primary school and 363,000 kids at secondary school. So that's the start of the pipeline. So there are definitely enough people in the school system to meet the demands of the IT sector and IT jobs now and in the future. The problem is people are not interested in tech. So if we go right back to the start, a piece of work by TEC completed at 2019, released at the start of 2020, they got 7,200 children between the ages of 7 and 13 to draw a picture of what they want for their future career. And any sort of IT digital type work came up 45th in a list of of careers. There were about 100 that were drawn. 55% drew the same 9 careers. 17.6% of kids in the age group of 7 to 13 wanted to be a professional sports person. And that was common no matter how you separate the demographics. And then you had policeman, doctor, vet, teacher. Number 5 in the list was a social influencer, social media influencer. Number 7 or somewhere like that was a graphic artist. But tech, IT, game developers, programmers, all coming down around 45, which is pretty scary. And around the same level were bakers, truck drivers, animal rescue people. So there's a bit of work to do in terms of attracting kids into the sector. And there was a big program of work starting with the TEC this year to try and support that, and the Digital Industry Transformation Plan is lining up and working closely with that as well. And you will see more calls out to all of you, because it's actually about, the research shows that the industries that have been going back into schools and engaging with kids are the ones that kids can see and aspire to do and move into those careers. And what they've also found from the research is that by about the age of 8, if children have been influenced towards a career, the majority of them will work their way through to getting into that career. So then we look at what kids are studying what students are studying at school in the NCEA level. And what we found was that over the past decade, there's been more than a 50% decline in interest in learning technology courses. And in the last 5 years, just around digital technology and the relevant feeder subjects into IT jobs have been declining at around about between 2 to 3% per annum in terms of the number of students taking it up. So if you think out of that 300,000 students, in year 13, there were 40,000 students doing maths, 16,000 doing technology, declining at a rate of about 2 to 3% per annum. Whereas at the same time, students were taking retail, hospitality, construction, growing at rates of 3 to 5% per annum. So not a good pipeline really, when kids don't even know about your career, and then the ones that do take it are getting smaller and smaller each year. So in 2019, only 5,000 students took digital technology across all of New Zealand at an NCEA level. So, well, that's the start of the pipeline. So how does that flow on into tertiary? Well, the tertiary system data seemed to look okay because courses were going up. People were taking more IT degrees and IT courses. However, when you extracted the 3,100 international students that were growing at a rate of 11% per year, domestic students were decreasing at a rate of 6% a year. So what happened in 2019 is that only 1,850 students left school to start an IT degree. So you can see that pipeline getting quite narrow now, coming down. There were an additional 3,000 students that came in from overseas to study IT degrees. The majority of those then went on and left the country. So, okay, well, right, so we know we have to do some work in the tertiary space. We know we have to do some work in the secondary space, but what about those students that have got degrees? Surely there's such a lot of demand, because if I drop down to the very bottom of that page, 4,462 new jobs were created for IT. So there's roughly over the past 5 years, 4,000 to 5,000 new IT jobs being created every year. So there's a nice set of new jobs coming through. We might not be able to provide enough from New Zealand, so those 1,850 should definitely get a job, right? No. In 2019, there were actually 3,000 that graduated at degree level, but only 350 of them could get an internship or any work experience and progress into the workforce. So some of the ones that graduated would have gone into the workforce without going through that program, but the Summer of Tech intern program and all the universities' intern programs all combined only created 3,500 work placements. So the companies were not taking graduate level students, which meant there was a huge number of students that were struggling to get work after spending 3 to 4 years doing a qualification which was in high demand by the industry, or so they'd been told. So again, another area which is not ideal. Some of the challenges around that are the fact that the jobs that are being created by the tech sector and the digitalization of the other sectors are all advanced and need experience. So they tend to be at the more complicated area where a decent amount of experience is needed. So our survey of over 200 employers of tech roles found that they were mainly looking for people with 3 to 5 years experience, making it very hard for graduates to get into the workforce. And what that meant was a high degree of reliance and an over-reliance on immigration. You can see there that in 2019, 3,863 people were brought into the country to fill these 4,400 roles. So 83% of all the new roles were given out through immigration, or were fulfilled through immigration, leaving the smaller ones for the local market to fulfill. It seems like that's a logical thing to do. If you're creating advanced roles, you need the right people to come in. So we're not arguing against immigration. We need that immigration. We need those advanced people to be coming in, and we need those skills. However, when you unpack the immigration data, you start to see roles in there which are not complex advanced roles, which need someone with a massive amount of experience. There were over 180 people brought in just to do software testing. There are another 100 people brought in just to do website development. So what's happened is the industry has begun, or the people employing IT folk have found the immigration pathway gets the best quality and the easiest way to engage to get the quality they want when they want it. It's a lot harder to be engaged with the education system and help develop that quality over a period of years. You need someone right now, so you go to LinkedIn or Seek, you put up an ad, someone applies, we've tuned the immigration nicely, you can actually bring them in from anywhere. And so people were fulfilling their immigration needs from across the world for all sorts of roles. So there's definitely some nuancing that can be done around there. I've heard from a lot of companies saying that they've got massive backlists of jobs and people they need to employ, and they need to get them in through immigration now, and MIQ's not working for them. We've got an open conversation going around with immigration and the minister about getting some digital specialist roles into the MIQ lists, as is pretty much every other sector in the country. However, when we unpack the data showed a high level of churn inside tech sector roles. And one of the arguments for that is that if there's a shortage of roles, people leave jobs because they can get more money somewhere else. And it is correct. IT workers and digital skills workers are getting high salaries, and they're doing well, and they're one of the highest paid roles in the country at the moment. However, when we survey those people, we look at what they're saying, they're leaving roles not for money. Money's coming up at the bottom of the top 10 list for them, not at the top. At the top, they're leaving roles because they want career progression. They want an opportunity for development. And through the survey, we found that less than 10% of organizations had spent any money upskilling their staff. You start to see the picture. You need some workers. You go overseas to get the quality, the person you want right now who fulfill the role. It's a lot harder to develop your own staff or to go through the education system and get the right person to come in. Much easier to get them internationally. Your own employees are going, well, I would love to learn, there's a big demand for data scientists or machine learning or cybersecurity or DevOps. I would love to learn some new skills and move up. The bulk of employees in the IT profession have been in the job for more than 15 years, and the bulk of them have had no upskilling. They're just self-learning and trying to get on. So there's another big opportunity and challenge there in terms of how do you encourage and incent companies to start thinking about investing more in their own staff and giving them a chance to move up and learn more skills, opening the door for more lower skilled roles for the pipeline for New Zealand. And why that's important is because New Zealanders want software and code and algorithms built by New Zealanders for New Zealanders. That comes through loud and clear from some other research the government's done around digital equity and digital inclusion and things like that. So I'm going to stop here for a minute and allow everyone to have a bit of a think. I'll just repeat what we've got here. We've got a system-wide view of digital skills in New Zealand. No one is doing anything wrong. Some of the incentives are in the wrong place. we've got to be careful not to knee jerk on some of them, like shut the border. We've seen the impact of COVID, and it is having an impact on the growth of some of our larger exporting tech firms. What's happening there is they're sending their jobs offshore, which is not good for New Zealand. But there's a big opportunity. There's a big untapped talent pool in Māori and Pacific and females. There's a lack of awareness of the career opportunities. There is a lack of investment in the teacher training and the skills to encourage and bring kids through the primary and secondary system and into these job pathways. There's a lack of clarity on the pathways, showing how to go from a learning to an education. There is a lack of connection between tertiary education or any education and the sector, so connecting the jobs with the individuals. There is people sourcing individuals from overseas when they could probably invest in getting those people through in New Zealand. And there is a shortage of upskilling, and so that's creating a churn, which is creating a perception of a massive skill shortage. The data says that there are only between 4,000 to 5,000 new jobs created every year over the last 4 to 5 years. That is not a massive number of jobs. That is a number with the size of the pipeline, the number of people. It's not a huge problem to solve. And we believe with this coordinated industry and government approach, we should be able to address some of these points and improve the friction in some of these areas, and over the next year or two, improve that pipeline domestically, whilst also maintaining an open immigration pipeline. So this report had 3 fundamental recommendations. One was to build the digital skills pipeline domestically. Looking to work with the industry and education in terms of raising awareness at the very start of that pipeline. TEC's got some programs of work in. NZTech and IT professionals are merging together all of their education programs so that it can be more coordinated and easier to operate with education. We've been advocating for additional investment into the educators to make sure that the teachers, they had a first wave of investment around the digital technology curricula training. We need more of that so that they've got the confidence to be engaging. We've got some programs. We've just run a program trial with the Ministry of Education called Shadow Tech Teachers, where we've taken teachers over the last couple of weeks and we've put them inside a tech company for a day so they can see what it's like and see what it's like to work in Xero or in the IT team of a bank or Microsoft or somewhere, and get inspired and go back to the students, go, wow, this is really cool, there's an opportunity for you. We need this data on a regular basis so we can understand it and plan and manage better. And we need to maintain that international talent. There's also this opportunity with the transition to work. There's a lot of talk about people out of work and how do we transition them into the tech sector. Only roughly about 200 people journeyed through those pathways from other careers into tech in 2019. It is difficult because of the need for that experience that comes through. However, there are some things we can expand. The ICT grad schools, we're taking people, bringing them through with experience and just adding on tech on top of that. Those programs have worked in those schools, and we're looking to try and encourage further investment in that space. Government has a GovTech talent program. Government employs a significant amount of IT professionals in New Zealand. Also, like every other company, makes no effort at training them and upskilling them. So working with, chatting with the DIA and trying to encourage the government to look at their program they already have in place for graduate recruitment to be scaled up and to take more of an active role in helping channel those graduates and giving them the experience they need to move through into other tech roles. And there's some really nice work going on with apprenticeships, to trial apprenticeships to see if we can get create pathways for students that would leave in year 11 or 12 because they have to go off and get work, to rather get work, start working and learn the tech skills as they're working on the way through. So those are the recommendations. There's a lot more detail in behind that, obviously. There's a couple little ads there that are just going to play in the background. What I am now going to, well, hopefully, Caroline, you've worked in the background. Can you confirm to me that you can much more systematically and automatically drop people into rooms so we can have a chat about this? And Is it all
Hi
good?
there. You are still in the same rooms that you were in. So in theory, I'll open all the rooms back up again. You should be able to drop back into the same rooms. You might just have to accept it again. And anyone that's recently joined, I will just assign you a room.
So what I encourage you to do is spend 15 odd minutes now. We'll pop you back in the rooms and have a conversation about what you've just heard. I'm open for questions or open to getting people to share ideas when we come back. This is supposed to be a connect event, so getting into those rooms and having a chat about what's important for you, and if there's any other ideas, or if you have any questions, if there's more you'd like to know about what's happening or what could happen. And then when we bring you back, don't be shy, put your hand up and yell out, and we'll try and answer a few questions and have a bit of conversation about it. So there you go. When you get the invite, accept it, drop into your room and have a conversation about it. We'll see you back here in a quarter of an hour.
For those of you still with me, I'm just going through and assigning new rooms now.
There's a need for a bit of a countdown clock, isn't there?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, there is a countdown clock. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was.
Just don't use the doomsday clock, Graham.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope that was a useful conversation, and sorry that it was a bit abruptly finished. Obviously, there's a few more skills we need to polish around this stuff, but I think the idea was to give you a chance to really dig into it. And if it was anything like the conversation that we just had, there's plenty to talk about. I want to just open it up. I know it's going to be probably a bit tricky. There's probably still what have we got here? Still got 48 people on the line. I'm going to ask everyone if they would be so kind as to stay muted, and then I'm just going to open it up for questions. The best way to manage this is if you've got a question, if you just drop it into the chat box to everyone. If there's lots and lots of them, I'll just filter through and I'll ask you to give us a bit more about it. But while we're doing that, I'm going to share one of the questions that came up at the group that I was chatting with. One of the questions was, what can we learn from leading digital countries like Singapore? And there was a bit of conversation about what was happening. In fact, we got cut short actually in the conversation. So Dan, I'm sure the last bit was going to be perfect as well. What can we learn from these sort of countries? And what sort of came up from that was a real need for leadership in an opportunity like this, at the scale of this challenge and opportunity. It's a challenge because we all know how difficult it is if we can't get these digital tech roles into the companies when we need them to help the companies transform and grow and export. It's an opportunity because there's a growing number of these roles needed. There's a growing, a constant, stable industry, growing industry. So it's a good place to invest your time and energy. And there's a big pipeline of skills which can be tapped into if we work out how to do it. So I guess looking at what Singapore have done, which kind of stood out, was a very clear direction from leadership, a very clear vision about wanting to be a digital leading country and what that meant, and having to invest into its domestic talent and bringing in courses to help business people understand the importance of different types of technology and creating those pathways. And that was the main point that came out of that, was it would be good to have some leadership and vision from government in terms of, what do they think this future should be looking like. From our perspective in NZTech, a lot of effort's been put into the digital industry transformation plan. That covers a small part of that vision element. It's really about, like, if we want to have the digital and the tech sector being a major part of New Zealand's economic future, we need to do something transformational, and doing something dramatic with fixing the skills pipeline in New Zealand and leverage getting as many people into these roles as part of that view and that plan. So that should come out in a few months with some of that vision element. But you're right, we do really need a digital vision, something that's bigger and more connected, and there's work being done on that as well. I do have a couple of questions. I'm just going to jump to Daryl. You dropped the first one, and Daryl, do you want to ask it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking in our breakout room, and I'm a bit concerned about the New Zealand government not actually doing enough to increase the standard of STEM training in New Zealand. Okay, I mean, we were talking about, and I was saying that we've got a significant reliance on dairy, we've got a significant reliance on travel and tourism, but we need to flip it. And the problem is that when we get these kids coming out of school and into universities, the standard is actually so much lower than some of the other countries like Singapore that you're talking about. And I just don't know if we've got enough of a focus on there, because we're going to have a skills gap, and that gap is, it's not now, it's actually coming in another 5 or 6 years. It's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, well, the good news is they're taking it very seriously now. It is it seems like I'm going to tell you a date, and it's going to go, well, that's not fast enough. But it is the #1 priority for the Ministry of Education for 2022 is to lift STEM and maths participation and outcomes through a whole redo of, and I don't know the details, I'm just talking at high level stuff, but basically a whole refresh of the approach and extra investment in training and looking at the curricula and a whole bunch of stuff. The reason 2022 is because there's a whole bunch of changes to the curricula, particularly bringing in making New Zealand history and Māori land wars and stuff like that as a compulsory part of the curriculum, which is a massive change program, which will soak up most of 2021, and then they'll roll into upgrading STEM as the #1 priority for the CEO going into 2022.
Not #1 priority, it's #2.
It'll be #1 in 2022.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless something else comes. So
so it's been. they're already committing and starting the runway into it. So I can't talk on behalf of the Ministry of Education, but it has moved up to that level of we're going to have to overhaul the whole education system to fix this type of thing, and that's why it's a big piece of work. That is really promising. That it's at the ministerial and CEO level of the system. Thanks, Daryl. I want to allow a few other people. Mark Thomas, you had a question you want to fire it in?
Sure. Hi, Graham. Thanks. Hey, look, the stats show there's a real issue in the compulsory education sector, but how did the report go about measuring on-the-job training? I can recall a report from MB in 2019, I think, that said most of the sort of technological training that's done is done on the job. And of course, there's a whole bunch of people who learn digital skills, but it's only a small part of their job. Is that something that you were able to look at or measure?
Not in this survey. We did in 2017 ask that so the survey collected results from 200 organisations, most of the large employers of IT, whether they were government departments, finance organisations, or the big tech firms, plus a long tail. So it's a good representative sample. In 2017, we did ask how people train their staff, but what we found is that less than 10% put any effort into any form of training. And then when it was broken out, it was on the job was the main one. So at the time, and so we didn't measure that, we didn't ask that this year, but we did reinforce that there's still no financial investment. There's very little financial investment going into upskilling and training people across all those different pockets of sectors. So it's not just tech firms, but it's also government agencies, it's also large corporates. So yes, you're probably right. The default mechanism right now for most employees to upskill is on-the-job training and self-learning. However, I guess the argument is that that's what's creating some of the churns, because people are looking for the opportunities as part of their upskilling and not necessarily getting the chance to move up in their own environment. And that's what the survey of the individuals is telling us, is that they are mainly looking for career advancement opportunities and new learning opportunities is why that is the #1 reason for moving. Thanks, Mark. Joel, you had a good question. Do you want to fire it in?
Yes. So just repeating my question. We know that employers face a lot of pain points. So internship take up too much time. They haven't been trained right. It's expensive. So how might we be able to remove some of those barriers and at the same time incentivize employers to hire more local talent?
Yeah, good question. So that's there is a significant pain point there, Joel, from the transition from education to employment. So looking at some of the activities that are underway in this and being scoped out in the skills part of the digital ITP, things like those apprenticeships and some other work, pathway models which actually get the employer engaged back earlier. And obviously that's going to be, they're only going to solve some smaller little points. Some other areas include the feedback from the survey that there was quite a high level of desire to support, but it was in the very complicated basket. So things like you can get a grant from Callaghan to support you taking on an intern, but it's not easy. So there's some work and discussions around, is there potential to refocus that money, reformat it, and make it easier for Callaghan to just dish it out to an approved intern provider, etc., etc. So some work in that, like making that, if you can, they found in the research, we found that if Callaghan put more money into that, or were able to put more money into that fund, they kept it out really easy because it did incent smaller companies to take on interns because it took away a portion of the financial risk. The third part was that, in the complexity bucket, was that there's so many schools hitting people up for interns all the time that we're looking at or discussing and promoting the concept of having a single shop window. So more of an industry view. Here's all the, if this is the one place to go to see all the students coming through as graduates, the background and skills they've got, what intern boot camps they've been through, which university or program you can connect to. So not actually taking over the interns, but providing that platform and that sort of shop window to make it just so much easier to market and provide advice for people who are interested in taking on interns. Any other ideas in that space? There'll be a bit more workshopping done by the skills work stream. So if you're interested in a bit more conversation, do let us know afterwards and we can point you in the direction of those other planning sessions. Thanks, Joel. Anthony, you got a good question there. Would you like to fire it in, or do you want me to?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Graham. It was just around the, I think there's some deep structural issues that appear to inhibit the progress in some of these areas. Aside from my previous one around perhaps incentives, capabilities of schooling within the schooling sector for the right, to attract the right talented staff, teachers. We know that the bulk of the New Zealand economy is comprised of very small businesses who are resistant to training, stumping up or investing in their staff. So in terms of ways to address that, I just wonder whether, I think you mentioned or touched on the opportunity for possible incentive schemes, maybe by way of, through the tax system or some other way, direct grants to smaller businesses, but maybe there's scope there to hone focus in on the bigger companies that actually have the resources and wherewithal to actually do the training, do the apprenticeships, take on the staff, do it.
One area we're focusing on is government. Government employs 80-something thousand people who have digital skills. And so not all IT professionals, not all programmers and coders and stuff, but broadly they employ a lot of people in the space and don't have they have a GovTech talent program, which has been working for a couple of years. It appears to be a successful program, but there is opportunity to scale it, which would be an opportunity for government to take a commitment to taking on more interns, working closer with the universities and pipelining them in, and government as a role in the initial skilling and experience level for a larger number of individuals. So that sort of, can we take that program they've got, which is quite narrow, only a couple of large agencies and only taking on a few grads, to taking on a much bigger work placement, internship, upskilling type approach. So there's discussions and planning in around that.
I suppose the problem with that, though, is it doesn't necessarily resolve the longer term problem of the business sector.
But it does provide opportunity for the business sector to employ people that have actually had their first job and have got some work experience, some understanding of an agile meeting, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not the thing with this whole thing is there's no single silver bullet, right? From a commercial sector space, I can use my analogy of my background is that I trained as a pharmacist, and pharmacy interns were like gold, and there were not enough pharmacy interns for the number of pharmacies that wanted to employ them, because it was very clear in terms of if you did this with them, you'd get this level of capability, and if you brought them in here in their third year or their fourth year, or took them for their fifth year for their whole internship. So it was very clear what capabilities each individual had. It was more workforce planning, right? Very clear on the individuals, where they'd be suited, what skills they had. And if you gave them these skills, you could have a minimum wage employee managing your shop on the weekend. So individual single person organizations wanted an intern because they could find out how to get value. There's a lack of clarity around that. So there is some work we can do in terms of better pathways and better identification, making it simpler for small businesses. And we know from who are actually taking internships, it's not just the big businesses, there are small ones, and 80-something% of interns through Summer of Tech actually go on to keep the job. So it's quite a nice way to test whether you need the extra resourcing at minimum wage and see if you can find the right skills. So more awareness, a little bit better on the carrot in terms of some making it easier to get that subsidy around the cost of them, and away we go. It should improve. Thanks, Anthony. Amma, you had a question.
Kia ora, everyone. Hi. This is a good one. Well done, Graham. Tēnā koutou katoa. Well done. And despite the lockdown, we're still here. So this is a great discussion. Hey, my question is one of those just came up in our breakout rooms. So thank you, Carolyn. And this is a broad question. So it's perceptive in every industry, whichever company you enter. There is always a gap. It's also called the digital divide. So how do we address the digital divide? How do you address that gap that exists between the senior leadership or the people in management running boards vis-a-vis the digital natives who are coming in? For them, there's a skills gap, there's an understanding gap, there's an approach to technology gap, there's an approach to the business, there's the speed gap. So how are we, I mean, this could be the good forum to discuss this, but how are we addressing this here? So is there even a meeting ground?
Yeah, really good question. I'm not aware of it, what you're articulating there is part of the problem around the digitalization of New Zealand's businesses, which is not happening very fast because there are a large number of current business owners that are not aware of the urgency or opportunity that they could get from digitalization. I think for the larger organizations, the larger corporates, they are much better prepared for this, more suited to it. But from small businesses, it appears there's a lot of work going on within MB in the government as part of COVID recovery on enabling the digitalization of small businesses. There is a whole bunch of training coming through the Mind Lab.
The Digital Boost program, the Digital Boost
program, yeah. And I'm aware that some of the work in there is also about just it's not just the technical elements of the Digital Boost, but the why and all of that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, it's a hard one to answer. I don't think there's any forum for it, but I do think that some of these programs of work will help raise, and the marketing around it will help raise awareness of that of the need. But I mean, in another personal story, you just got to stand at the school gate and collect your child and listen to the conversations about people and how the majority of folks don't get the importance of digital, how fast it's coming, and all the opportunities. So
yeah,
but it's not, we're not unique in the world. So that's happening.
So true. But and there's no quick fix to the question I've asked. But just to share with the forum here that the Vodafone CEO Jason Paris, he mentioned the other day that thanks to COVID, their company has accelerated digitally speaking. Its digital acceleration has just become from a must-have or a good-to-have to now it's already happening. It's here. So it's knocking on your doorstep. And COVID has, in that sense, been a great reveler. It's actually pushed people into the digital forum, and what used to be plans or what was a good to have is now a must-have. You must go ahead with the digital journeys.
Certainly, we're heading in the right direction. So I'm just going to jump now, Emma, to give everyone else a chance. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for the question.
Cheers, man.
Josh, you got a question about apprenticeships?
Yeah, hi, Graham. So yeah, I co-own a digital and IT apprenticeship provider in the UK, and we've become one of the leading go-to providers now. So my question was just how do we engage in the conversation here, and how do we kind of share our skills and experience of what we do there? We take on obviously young people, we train them on an 18-month program, we find them a work placement, and it's something that is pretty big in the UK. So yeah, it's just how can we engage kind of here and help share that knowledge.
Drop us a note afterwards, Josh. We'll plug you in. It's really early stage at the moment. We're looking at trying to set up a couple of pilots as part of the industry transformation plan. It'll be the first time a digital apprenticeship is in place. Trying to also, where possible, leverage the experience to help with creating pathways that will help Māori and Pacifica in particular into the workforce. So working in the South Island and up in Auckland, looking at some opportunities. So yeah, drop us a line afterwards. It's very, very early stage. It's trying to put a square peg into a round hole at the moment a little bit with the way the rules are with the education system. But there was a massive interest level from the survey we did. So at an industry level, there's demand. The kids are really keen. You can sort out the program, it'll be great. And then it's about the company stepping up. Then but I mean, if there were only 150 Māori students that graduated with IT degrees in New Zealand in 2019, if we could, bring in 15 through an apprenticeship, that's a 10% lift. That's little numbers, but in time, that makes a big difference. So yeah, drop us a note and we'll hook up around it. Thanks. Thanks,
absolutely. Will do. Cheers.
Who's... Oh, I've got a whole bunch of... Anthony, I've given you a chance. I'm going to keep moving forward. Emma, why don't you jump up, tell us a little bit about the stuff at MindLab.
Yeah, sure. I don't personally work with the Digital Boost stuff. We actually had Evelyn on here just a little bit ago, but I think she needed to take a call. Digital Boost is a great resource for small businesses who are looking to get themselves more into the digital world. Digital Skills for the Workplace, which is the program that I work for, is meant for anyone who's looking to upskill themselves digitally in the workplace. It can range from anywhere between a beginner level to someone who has a lot of knowledge, because the way we run the class is very driven through activities and discussions. So it's all about the collaboration of everyone and bringing our skills together to kind of forward our digital journeys, I guess. But yeah, we have two different kind of focuses. One is for small businesses as well, and the other one is for just pretty much anyone who is in a workplace environment, as well as those who are kind of looking to be employed, because, you know, nowadays it's not just about your CV. There's a lot more that kind of goes into it, things like LinkedIn and your websites and stuff like that that you might want to include when you're looking to get a job and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a debrief, a quick little debrief of those two things that we're working on to kind of help address these issues that we've been talking about.
Thanks for that. And I heard today that there's from the MB guys that are driving it, that there's a bit more marketing and campaign work going on. So we should start to see a lot more of it in the media as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I heard radio ads. Everyone loves a good radio ad.
Thanks, Emma. I want to wrap this up shortly. I'm just going to take one or two more questions. Kiri, you had a question about Singapore.
Yeah, how you started this session off with being able to take insights from Singapore, leading in tech. So what was the learning from Singapore and how they engage their children and young people still in school with digital tech sector?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Maybe there's someone online who can share if they can, if they could just drop a note in the messaging thing and we can pull you in. I'm not sure at that level, at the school level. I know they've done a couple of things which are really interesting at a digital level. Like they've got some very clear leadership and very clear messaging out to the population about what sort of country they see themselves, a global leader in digital, how they're going to change their economy to do that, investments in different areas. One thing they've introduced is what's the word? Lifelong learning sort of wallet, where they drop money into everyone's, giving them each a sort of a digital wallet, which they can access to pay for upskilling and training. So all Singaporean citizens can access a government fund dedicated to them to support every year, to support them doing a little bit more education and training in these sort of spaces. So that's a real commitment. I'm not sure what they're doing with at the education level though. Jeff said that he's going to share a presentation he thinks he can find. So that's very good. And we'll just, thanks so much, Kiri. Just want to do one last one. What have we got? Yako, you had one around micro credentials and certifications.
Kia ora, thanks. No, I just want to get some, a lot of this in our breakout, we talked about, the value or the possibility of more widespread adoption of micro-credentials, micro-certifications, open badges, stuff like that, being a bit of a bridge to some of these problems. I just want to know from the rest of the people around here what their impression is, or whether they feel there is any legs to something like that, or is that a bit of a pipe dream?
Yeah, I guess that's thank you, Yako. It's a difficult one to have in a Zoom meeting with 40 or 50 people to have an open conversation. So I think I'll share some stuff about it, but if it's of interest, then just drop some things in the comment place. I'm also going to start wrapping it up as well, because I want to get you off. It's too long on a Zoom call otherwise. I want to get you off and off to your homes and your dinners. But yeah, obviously in New Zealand, NZQA, which is the qualifications agency, has embraced the concept of micro-credentials and micro-certifications, and has been looking at how to align some of the industry ones that are out there into and embed them into some of the programs. It's one of the things we recommended in the research report as well, is that that there's more alignment and support and connection between the many industry training courses that are out there back up into the education system. Like organizations like Microsoft and AWS are struggling to get enough people to spin up their servers and are certified at the level of doing some core base work, embedding that in order to deliver more services into New Zealand, right? And then embedding some of that work into courses at a micro-credential level might be a way to do it. And I know people are looking at different polytechs and unis are looking at that. And it's not new. They used to provide Cisco certification and things like that. It's just about, you know, moving with the times. Yeah, with that, I want to thank you all. You've been great. I thought it was going to be crazy having a whole bunch of people in an open Zoom call, but you've all been on mute. Haven't had to hear the dogs barking or the kids screaming for dinner. Hopefully this is a useful piece of research that you can apply and understand. In the chat, there's a link to it. Otherwise, just go nztech.org.nz or digital skills or anything like that. It'll come up on Google. It's freely available. It's a long report. There's about 100 pages in it. However, a big chunk of that is appendix with data and details inside there. I really recommend having a good look at and poke around in it. And putting your hand up and getting involved in supporting any of the initiatives that NZTech is doing around the industry transformation plan, or if you're working through IT professionals as well. And last but not least, don't forget, coming up in May is Tech Week. It would be great for you all to get involved if you think there's something you want to talk about, maybe something around skills, maybe something about something else. With that, I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early, get you off, get you home. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye.